About 24 hours ago, we were on the dirty side of a dirty hurricane. We saw it coming. It was very unpredictable. I will emphasize from the first day we learned of Beryl, but we're very familiar with Beryl. Now yesterday we're in a shelter-in-place mode. Life safety issues were our highest priority, as they are today, matter of fact. But it's passed, and I'm asking Houstonians not to become complacent because we have clear skies. We still have dangers in our community brought by Beryl. In fact, I would like to now pause and send our condolences and our heartfelt sadness over the loss of 3 Houstonians, one individual from a fire that we believe is related to the storm, another from a fallen tree, and every life is precious. But we lost a Tier 1 employee at HPD, Russell Richardson, coming to work as a public servant, and was drowned in waters at Houston Avenue and 45. So at this moment, I'd ask you all to pause and pray for his family, the loss of all 3 precious lives. Amen. We just left the nerve center of the emergency center. You see this team behind me of dedicated professional first responders, public servants at every level of government. I have never been more proud and excited to be a part of an operation that is so committed to each and every Houstonian, each Harris County resident, and in fact, every resident of the state of Texas. We're doing everything possible to restore individuals' lives, their property, to situation and conditions prior to Beryl. Public safety being our highest priority. And let me just also emphasize, right behind public safety is restoring city and county services with the highest priority of electricity and energy. We're doing everything we possibly can to see that your electricity is restored. It affects everything we talk about today. Our safety, our work, our church, our families, our education. So yes, we're in constant touch with CenterPoint. We're holding them accountable. I talk to their administrators every 4 hours for an update. And I'm convinced that we're going to continue to push CenterPoint to do everything possible. They want the power restored. And they brought in an additional thousands, over 10,000 now workers. We started talking to them prior to the storm. They had to get the 10,000 personnel in place from across the nation. They were headed this way, and then they got here and they had to be pre-positioned. So, yes, we are holding CenterPoint accountable. I've had a commitment from them that they will restore over 1 million users of electricity by this time tomorrow. Huge goal, but I'm confident if we will all work together, we'll get there. Now, back to Houstonians and what you can do. There are still high water areas. There is still down debris. Particularly, I ask Houstonians after dark, stay at home if at all possible. We have traffic lights down across this city. You cannot travel at night, go through an intersection where there's a down light and not expose yourself and others. So please, limit your transportation, limit your traveling to essential travel after dark. Let me also assure you that after darkness is also dangerous because people will take opportunities. We have HPD totally mobilized, everyone in the department, all hands on deck to protect our property and our lives. They are also being assisted by state troopers that are coming in protecting our property, looking at some of the most vulnerable neighborhoods and retail stores such as pawn shops, other areas that we know individuals will prey. if you're a criminal out there, let me send a message on behalf of everyone that can hear my voice. Don't think about it. We're out there. We're in plain clothes. We're patrolling neighborhoods and businesses, and we will hold you accountable. Now, this doesn't happen just with city resources. I've never seen in my 50-plus years of public service the collaboration of every level of government. We have County Commissioner Tom Ramsey here, Adrian Garcia. Thank you for the collaboration with debris pickup, all of the resources at the county. Commissioner Briones is out in the field as we talk. Congressman Wesley Hunt's represented here. I cannot tell you how proud I am that our city councilmen are working with the mayor's office, Councilman Kamen, Ramirez, Peck. We're all in this together. Now, let me emphasize how important the state of Texas is. I said when I got elected that the state of Texas and Houston will work together like never before. Today we have in our nerve center, our operations centers, the acting governor of the state of Texas, our lieutenant governor, Dan Patrick. He has brought with him Nim Kidd, the best emergency center operative in the country. Just in the meeting today, we're getting additional resources in the form of ambulances and other resources. And Governor Patrick, I will yield to you to give us a status report as it relates to the state of Texas, Houston, and even the White House. I yield to you at this time.
Thank you, Mayor. First of all, I've known Mayor Whitmire for a long time. He is action-oriented. He doesn't take no for an answer. And if someone doesn't have an answer, he tells them to go find one and a solution. And he and I are alike on that. I don't take no for an answer either. If there's a problem, let's find a way to fix it. And when it comes to life and death issues, fix it as quickly as we can. So the mayor and I started talking several days before the storm hit, because we both had a concern it could come closer to Houston than was originally predicted. On July 4th, just last Thursday, it was headed to Mexico, according to all the weather forecasters, and to the Rio Grande Valley. And it started moving, and the more it moved, the more we talked, the more we prepared at the state, the more he prepared at the city. And so we are ready to take action on everything that needs to be done now that the storm is out of the state and out of the city. First, we are sending 25 ambulances because we have a backup in our hospitals, because they can't discharge patients, because patients can't go home if they don't have power. So everything is backing up. So besides those extra vehicles, Nim Kidd will talk about this in a moment, we're going to open up a facility at NRG that will eventually have 250 beds so that we can move these people from the hospital so that there are rooms open for the new patients that come in. Number two, I talked to President Biden today, and I asked for an emergency disaster declaration, which will help pay for 75% of the debris cleanup cost and other costs, and Nim Kidd will go through that list as well. And it was a short call. The President said yes. I appreciated the President reaching out. There was no delay from the White House, no delay from us. In fact, FEMA has seats at all of our emergency meetings in Austin. I've been with FEMA for the last 3 days. I was easy to find, but the truth is, before you can ask for a declaration, you have to go meet with people in the impacted areas to see what's needed and the level of need. And so I've been in College Station today, I've been in Lake City, and of course we came here to be with the city of Houston. Tom Ramsey, Commissioner Ramsey said earlier in our meeting that as big as the last storm was in debris cleanup that could fill a stadium, the debris in this storm is even larger. So the help from the federal government is greatly appreciated on those cost items, and we will continue to work with them. So from the federal government and FEMA, to the state, to our counties, to our cities, it is total teamwork, and the mayor is absolutely right. When we have a crisis in Texas, we are all one. There's no politics, there's nothing. You know, who needs help? And whoever needs help, that's where we're going to be. I'm also in touch with Centerpoint. I think I've communicated with them 5 or 6 times today. My focus is right now to get power on as quickly as we can to those who do not have power. We'll decide after the fact to go back and look, could they have done better? Could they have been positioned better? We'll figure that out later. Right now, I don't want any center point employee worrying about what did happen. I want them to be on the job, up in the buckets, trimming the trees, fixing the wires, the administration staff answering calls. And by the way, if your power is out, you may not be watching us if the power is out, but if you get this message, do not call 911. Call 713-207-2222. Do not call 911 to tell us your power is out. Yesterday, there were almost 16,000 calls to 911. That should be for critical life and death issues. Today, those calls are down about 50%. We need to cut those calls down. So if you have a power issue, call 713-207-2222 directly to CenterPoint. They're going to work as hard as they can, and we will be on them every day, every several hours. Where are you in restoring power? The last thing I want to add here is the mayor is correct. Don't drive at night. Traffic lights are out. You can run into water still in some areas. But here's the other thing. Please do not die from carbon monoxide in your home. Don't put the generators in your home. Don't bring them close. We've already had, I think, 2 deaths because of carbon monoxide. Those are deaths that should not have happened. So pass that word out. And for those of you who are watching because you have power, text or email or call your friends. Maybe they still have enough power to have their internet up and their cell phones. Reach out to them and give them the message that we are giving you today, because there are some people still in the dark and they're pretty hot today. And we understand it. And we're going to work with the mayor to set up cooling centers. We are here to help you. As soon as NIMKID found out today, literally today, of the need of our hospitals and how they were backed up and we couldn't take anyone, we fixed that in less than 60 minutes. So we hear the need, we're there for you, just like the mayor, when he hears the need, is there for you. So thank you, Mayor.
Thank you. Thank you, Governor. I'd like to hear from NIMKID. NIM, you've experienced these occasions before. You've already opened doors for us. And would you come give us a status report as we go forward?
Thank you, Mayor, and thank you for the partnership that we've had over the years that I've been at the state. I used to live in Friendswood, so this is almost home to me as well. The men and women standing behind me I've worked with for years when I was either in San Antonio or at the state. Listen, you've got a great team here that's doing amazing work. Our job is to support them and support their resource requests, and that's exactly what we're here to do. We do not make decisions for the city or the county, but we support their direction. The additional ambulances coming in, as the governor said, will help alleviate some of the wall times that your current 911 system is experiencing. And then working with the hospital systems, I talked to the Texas Hospital Association a few minutes ago. They've asked for this additional resource to help load balance the hospital needs of the community. There've been requests for generators from all over the state. We have not had a generator request come in yet that we have not been able to meet. One of the things that we will get out of the emergency declaration or the major disaster that the president granted is additional resources if needed. And so we will continue to tap those resources. As Governor Patrick said, FEMA has been with us in our Emergency Operations Center since April. We've been working on these storms together. They have a permanent seat with us. I talk to our regional administrator usually multiple times a day. And yesterday I had a call with the FEMA administrator, today another conversation with her. We're very grateful for their support in reaching out. As we continue to do damage assessments, we will need help with the community. And I would ask all citizens, when you can get email and internet, go to damage.tdem.texas.gov, and we'll send that out to y'all so you can push it out, and enter your damage information. This is the first step in getting additional federal assistance for the citizens. We'll continue to work with our cities and our counties around the state to do their public assistance damage assessments. We typically need $54 million of uninsured government cost and loss before the president can grant a declaration. I do believe we will exceed or have already exceeded that threshold. I'm grateful for the actions of the governor and the president today to expedite that process for us all, and we'll continue to work as one team to get this solved. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you, Neil. As you can hear from these expressions, we are currently in an assessment mode and we will enter very shortly in a recovery mode. But we have to do the assessment first to place a value on our losses, also so we can know where to improve our resource implementation. So at this time, one of our key department heads is obviously our Chief of Police. Chief Satterwhite, would you come give us a status report in terms of the priorities of HPD and how the public can assist in this effort?
Thank you, Mayor. The first thing I'd like to do is just to thank everybody for your outreach. You know, losing one of our team members is never easy. And we lost Russell yesterday, but the outreach from the public has just been amazing. You know, we have a great team, the officers. We're going to take care of them. We're going to take care of Russell's family and honor him. But thank you all in the public for what you have said and your outreach. So we were ready for the storm. We had pre-positioned resources, pre-positioned boats, high water rescue trucks. Everybody was leaning in. And then yesterday when it hit, we went right into response mode. I think we did 56 rescues of people that got caught in high water. So that was our teams out there doing their job. Our officers were leaned in, responding. We brought everybody in uniform, and they just really performed remarkably yesterday through the storm. So I'm really thankful for that. But as of today, this morning at 6 a.m., we converted over to a full mobilization. We did not know we did not anticipate the amount of power that we would lose, and quite frankly, the city is very dark right now. And CenterPoint, I know, is working as hard as they can to get the power back on, get the lights back on, but it is a dangerous situation, especially at night. So we made the decision yesterday, which is how we would normally do it, post the storm after we see what we were hit with, and we have very quickly moved over to full mobilization today. So you have your entire police department working. Basically, half of it is working day shift, and half of it is working night shift. And it will continue in that posture until we think that it is safe enough and appropriate when we get power back on and our neighborhoods, our vulnerable neighborhoods and our communities and everybody is safe. We will stay in that posture and then until we demobilize until that time. I will, the mayor mentioned something about the predators that will go out. Sadly, we do have people that will go out and try to take advantage of this situation. We had them go out last night, and we made arrests. We made arrests for burglary, and those individuals, once they've cleared a couple of the processes through the DA's office and for charges, we will actually put their pictures out because we want the public to know that we will hold those who are going out there and harming others accountable. Your police department is going to work for you in that regard. Finally, again, it was mentioned what you could do to help. Obviously, if you see anything suspicious, let us know. 911, correctly said, is not for my power is out, but it is for anything where you think there's something suspicious or somebody is being harmed or anything is going on. Last night, we had a disturbance call where we had 2 officers respond because a suspect was assaulting 2 elderly persons at an apartment complex. Those officers showed up, which is what we do within minutes, got on the scene, and were directed to where he was. And when they moved around, he was armed, and he opened fire on them, striking one of our officers. Thank God he is in stable condition right now at the hospital. But I'm just telling you that, when something happens, we will respond. Your police department, regardless of having to grieve over the loss of one of our own, regardless of all the challenges that our officers face, and they have their own challenges because they have families at home without power just like everybody else. We have struggles just like everybody else, but they are there, and they're going to do their job because that is what we all promised you, and that's what we will do. So with that, Mayor, I will yield back to you, and thank you for your leadership.
Thank you, Chief. Yesterday, about 11 o'clock, we were in strategic meetings in the Nerve Center, I call it, and live was a rescue on 288 at Holly Hall. The gentleman had gotten stalled and looked like he was in a river, but actually it was 288, and we thought, oh no, he was standing on the hood and top of his truck, and here comes a Houston Fire Department ladder truck. And through their training and their commitment to saving lives, they extended that ladder out across 288, gave him a life jacket and other survival equipment and saved that gentleman's life. I believe if Houston Fire had not responded accordingly, we would have lost another life. Chief Pena, will you come give us a status report and how we can assist Houston Fire?
Yes, sir. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you, sir.
First of all, thank you, Mayor, and thanks for your leadership in marshaling all these resources for the benefit of our community. Life safety remains our primary concern, and we're going to ensure that our resources remain in place for the support of our community. We are experiencing an increase in call volume. We're up about 50% from our normal pace at this time. What we're seeing is issues with broken gas lines, down power lines, medical issues, and we're starting to see the increase in carbon monoxide poisoning type calls. We've had about 100 in these last couple days already. So on top of that, with the heat and the humidity rising, we're also seeing an increase in heat emergencies. So here's what we're doing to address the issue. First of all, let me express my appreciation to the governor and my partner, Chief Kidd, for the responsiveness and the quick action in getting us the resources that we requested just today. We're bringing in additional strike teams, ambulance strike teams, to augment and supplement our local firefighters here. They'll remain in place until the call volume has receded, and we feel comfortable that we can support the ongoing operation with our current resources. We have our SAW teams that are also in place and embedded with the Houston Public Works Department to ensure that we're clearing debris in the major thoroughfares. So our priority is this: we're going to address the major thoroughfares, and then we're going to move into the tributaries of smaller streets to gain access primarily for our fire trucks and the services that the city is looking to provide. And we also have personnel ready to support the centers that the mayor has directed for us to stand up in order to serve our community during this time. Here's the ask. 911, it's been mentioned before, but 911, reserve that for emergencies. If you're going to report down power lines or broken utility lines, use 713-207-2222. Reserve 911 for true emergencies. Now, if any of those issues are causing a true emergency, then call 911. But we want to have enough capacity to address all the influx of 911s that are coming in. The other thing is beware the hazards. We had high winds this last couple days. The trees that did not fall, some of them are in precarious positions, some of the power line poles. They can break if we get another gust. Please beware the hazards that are still present out there in the street. And stay cool. Stay cool during this time. Don't expose yourself during the heat of the day. Cool showers during the day helps to maintain temperature if you don't have electricity at home. But more than anything, take care of yourselves, take care of your families, and please check on each other and check on your neighbors. Mayor, back to you.
Thank you, Chief Pena. The Emergency Center is where we gather to get reports and to make important decisions. The director is Tom Munoz. I will call him. He helps us coordinate all these valuable resources. Tom?
Thank you, Mayor. Governor, Chief Kidd, I want to echo what everyone said. Our colleagues, without your support, the support the people need would not be possible. So we are still in life safety mode. However, part of the recovery is supporting those individuals in need. Right now, the biggest concern we have is obviously no electricity, which is also compounded by the heat advisories that we have. So with that said, we're working together with all our state partners, our local partners, and our NGOs to get the basic needs that people need. The vulnerable populations, water, the ice, areas of comfort. We're working on cooling centers. You can find those in our HoustonOEM.org. We're also working with the vulnerable population groups to ensure that they are safe. As they've mentioned, the hospitals are now inundated. We're working on establishing those areas for the medically fragile where we can work. We are working diligently throughout the night, have been, in anticipation. Now that we're at this point, we're continuing to work to ensure that everyone has the capability to get the resources they need but more importantly, we're able to support. And again, want to echo what Chief Peña, what the mayor, what Chief Satterwhite has mentioned. Governor, Chief Kidd, without your assistance, this would not be possible. And I cannot emphasize the gratitude that is given. And Mayor, thank you for your leadership. I just want to emphasize we will continue to work diligently to the end of this event. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Tom. We recognize our fire and police as first responders, but when we're in a crisis like this, most of my departments I consider first responders. Certainly parks, solid waste, public works. Public works is so vital to a recovery and a rescue operation. Randy, would you come give us a status report of public works and what we can do to assist you?
Thank you, Mayor. I want to express gratitude, of course, to all of our partners that are here with us today. This really is an all-hands-on deck operation. Certainly, we're grateful for the assistance of the state governor. Chief Kidd, we're especially grateful for everything that's been lent so far. But I want to make sure I also express appreciation to TxDOT, who is currently helping us try and get many of our traffic signals operational. The scope of this storm, of course, was not one for which we were prepared. You heard the governor talk about how we didn't expect it to fully come this way just a few days ago. Regardless of that, we started to position ourselves to be well prepared to respond in the event that the worst would happen. And unfortunately, that's kind of the situation we're faced with. Of our 2,500 signalized intersections, the overwhelming majority of them have some damage of some kind, whether that's turned mast arms, down span lines, missing signal heads altogether. But the largest challenge of that is, of course, that there's no power. It's the same thing that most Houstonians are dealing with right now. We have more than 1,400 active service requests for our traffic signals, and so that's one of the big reasons we're asking folks to stay home as much as you possibly can. The roads can be dangerous when there's not as much order to them, and when our signals aren't working, the order starts to just go out the window. You can notice that just if you're out there today and you see how many people are driving. We encourage you to be cautious, be patient, make sure that you have patience for others around you, especially those that may not know the rules of the road as well as we hope that they would. Now, in terms of our roads, the water has been receding significantly. If you're finding that there is still ponding water on roads, we'd ask that you call 311 and report that to us. Most likely there is a blockage of the stormwater inlets at some spot. We will have our crews out there, as they already are right now, responding to clear those areas to help the water to recede as quickly as it possibly can. We're working, of course, in conjunction with solid waste, with fire, and making sure that we can clear the roadways from fallen trees and other debris. We have more than 750 service requests ongoing right now as we speak, and that number will continue to grow over the coming days as we complete our damage assessments. I do want to mention, of course, the water system. The drinking water system in the city of Houston is safe. When we have events like this, we of course know that one of our biggest challenges is with our wastewater system, backups that may occur, sanitary sewer overflows that have occurred. They certainly occurred during the height of the storm yesterday, and for that reason, we have a lot of work that we need to do. Power is our biggest challenge when it comes to our wastewater operations across the city right now. More than half of our lift stations and some of our smaller wastewater treatment plants are either on generator or no power at all. It's requiring us to be very creative in how we find ways to make sure that we can keep them in operation so that we can keep the wastewater system at its peak capacity as best we can. If you're experiencing issues, once again, 311 is your best place to go. We are prioritizing calls that we receive so we can make sure investigators respond to and address issues where we can. At that point, I just want to again express my gratitude for all of our partners here, and especially for other city departments. While Houston Public Works has a significant number of people on the ground today, we can't do it without the help of everyone else. Department of Neighborhoods has lent assistance to us in providing additional inspectors. We've worked with ARA and all sorts of others along the way to make sure that we can keep the services of the city and restore them as quickly as possible. So we're grateful to them and grateful to our friends at the state and the federal level. Mayor, I turn that back to you.
Thank you, Randy. Right along with electricity and public safety is debris pickup, garbage, recycling, but the real emphasis right now is clearing the roads and picking up the debris. I'd like to ask Mark Wolford to come and give us a status report of our debris pickup and solid waste.
Thank you, Mayor, and thank you for your support. Appreciative to be working with all of our partners here. And I've also like to take a moment to thank our solid waste employees who took the time to leave their homes. Many of my employees who I spoke with today indicated that they are still without power. They're still without some of the challenges that you've been hearing us discuss. So they have made the sacrifice to come in and help restore normalcy to the city. So to those employees, we definitely appreciate you from the bottom of our hearts. Today we had about 70% capacity. Because of that, we've only focused on providing garbage, household garbage collection. Many of our residents who were scheduled to have collections on Monday, we made our best efforts to provide that service today. However, I want to caution everybody and ask for your patience. We will not be able to complete all of our scheduled routes today, but we do plan on providing all solid waste collection services or all garbage collection services by the end of the week. So please be patient with us. We've also begun the second pass of our derecho storm cleanup efforts, which will eventually merge into Hurricane Beryl cleanup efforts. So again, please be patient. If you need any additional information, please use the 311 call center or utilize our HTX collections app that we have out there. And one last thing, I'd like to encourage everybody to continue to be safe as they do practice debris clearing in their homes and moving those items to the curb. Mayor, thank you.
Thank you. Each and every one of our city services is critical to the quality of life issues that people expect and we're going to provide. We have the Parks Director here, we have the Health Department. We're creating cooling centers at our multi-service centers. Some have been slow in opening due to lack of energy and a lack of a backup generator. And I will tell you, as we do an assessment and evaluation after this storm, generation will be a major topic. We have 9 fire stations that are not operable because of lack of energy and no backup generators. I cannot imagine in Houston, Texas, at any time in our lives, to build a fire station, try to operate a fire station without a backup generator. That will not be allowed going forward, and that's a commitment. It's just outrageous. But we are providing fire suppression, EMS service, but it's just, great cities do not have to close a fire station because they don't have a backup generator, and so that will be addressed. All the departments I mentioned are critical services. Obviously, our partners with our social services, the Red Cross, Salvation Army, our faith community, we're all in this together. I just emphasize to Houstonians, we are doing everything humanly possible to assist you during this time of a crisis. We also are asking you to allow us to help you by helping us, by staying off the streets at night, looking out for your family, your neighbors, your pets, and certainly the most vulnerable. If you're responsible for a senior citizen, care for that senior citizen. If that person's in an independence living facility, check on them. They are depending on you. Let us know how we can assist here in this emergency center. Nothing is more important. Nearly everything we've talked about today involves energy. So I would ask CenterPoint to come forward right now and give us a status report and some reasonable projection of the relief that's forthcoming.
Thank you, Mayor. I appreciate all of your support and everybody here. On behalf of CenterPoint Energy, I can say that we are committed to restoring the power as quickly and efficiently as possible. We understand the challenges that being without power can be, whether it's the medicine in your refrigerator, being able to keep your families cool, or losing the food that you need to feed your family. All of that is important. And it's our purpose to be able to enable all of our customers to have the necessary quality of life. And so for us to be able to do that, we are committed to provide the power. So I wanted to say that we have been watching the storm and we've had an eye on it as soon as it entered the Gulf. And I can share with full confidence that we were prepared. And in fact, we secured resources, materials, and equipment before the storm even got here. So to keep in perspective, we have 10,000 field resources that we have secured By the end of tomorrow, we're looking at 12,000. And for us to be able to do that, it has to take quite a lot of planning and preparation. And again, I want to share all of that stuff that takes place beforehand to be able to make that happen. Now, as far as our response and how that works, we have a very specified, specific program when we execute our emergency operation plan. Keep in mind, this is one of the largest metro areas in the country. We have thousands of linemen who have never seen, touched, or worked on our facilities. And for us to be able to do that, we have to do it safely and effectively. And it means they have to come in and they have to be trained. One of the particular issues with this storm is that it didn't completely leave our territory until about 3 p.m. yesterday afternoon. All of our internal resources were in-house, ready to respond to the storm as soon as it cleared, and once it did, we were all hands on deck for our restoration process. As that was taking place, the crews that we had secured that actually started to arrive before the storm came, they were located in areas so they could ride out the storm, which could be potentially north of where the storm was going, so it's later for them to be able to drive through. Once it was clear for them, they were able to arrive last evening. So again, I guess to help get an understanding of our restoration process with those thousands of crews that we had, they had to be trained, onboarded, fed, put to bed. Thousands of hotels, meals, all of that prepared after 3 p.m. Once that has taken place, we had staging sites. We're talking about large lay-down yards with hundreds of poles, transformers, equipment, ready for them to be able to respond at 5 a.m. this morning, where they showed up, grabbed the equipment necessary, and able to go. As we're able to do that work, we're doing our cut and clear process so that we can de-energize our system, make sure that it's safe for those foreign crews to be able to work as effectively and efficiently as possible, and that takes time. Once we get the results of that, we'll start seeing customers come on more quickly. And as far as our restoration effort, as getting an idea of what the restoration timeline is, we have to do a complete assessment of our facilities. We're looking at tens of thousands of miles of circuit miles that we have to look at. We had approximately 1,300 circuits that were out, and we can tell you exactly what circuits are out. We can tell you exactly how many customers are out, but we can't tell you the extent of the damage of that particular circuit until we actually walk the ground. And so we have hundreds of field assessors are trying to get that information. We're trying to get that as quickly and effectively as possible, but keep in mind when they're out there, literally walking boots on the ground, these circuit miles, it could be covered with debris, saturated, flooded. So we're doing everything we can to get that as quickly and efficiently as possible. And that once we gather all that information, we'll be able to exactly determine what we're looking at as far as the restoration effort. So I appreciate the patience. I appreciate everybody's understanding. We are doing everything that we can to get this restoration done as quickly as possible. We are committed to have over 1 million customers by tomorrow back online. Currently, we're at just over 650,000 restored, and we're hoping that we're going to start seeing some more progress coming rather soon. Again, I'd like to thank everybody for the time, patience, understanding what we have, and I do want to confirm that some of the things that we have heard some feedback on regarding the number of resources that we weren't prepared or that we didn't have any that necessary, the amount of resources necessary, I can confirm that that is not true. We have heard some feedback that we don't have enough materials, we don't have enough poles, we don't have transformers. I can confirm that is not true. And the reason why that's not true, again, is because of our preparation planning. Everything that we do before the storm to make sure we have what was necessary. And despite the fact that all the information that we had, that the storm was not going to be as impactful or even heading our direction, we were fully prepared. And once we're able to get an idea of exactly what we're looking at, we'll have a better information that we could share as what our restoration timeline will look like. So then, again, thank you, and I appreciate your patience.
Thank you. And I'll make CenterPoint available for any questions as we go forward. As I've said, each and every one of my departments are critical to the quality of life issues that we address on a daily basis. Angela Blanchard, thank you for the Directorship of Resilience and Discovery. Angel Ponce, thank you. Mayor's Office, the people with disabilities, each and every operation, each element of city government is at all hands on deck. I did see Senator Cornyn's office represented, and that is another indicator of the collaboration at every level of government, from the White House, Governor Patrick, our county commissioners, City of Houston. I can go on and on. I've never seen such a joint effort of public servants serving the public. And with that said, I'll be glad to yield to Anna. Would you come speak to our Spanish-speaking residents, and then we'll open it up to questions.
Gracias, alcalde. Voy a hacer un resumen lo más breve posible de lo que han dicho todos los líderes atrás de mí. Tenemos líderes estatales, líderes locales, tenemos los comisionados del condado, tenemos nuestros jefes de bomberos, de policía, tenemos directores de obras públicas y recolección de escombros y muchos más. Todos están aquí con una prioridad, y esa prioridad es que regresen los servicios de electricidad a la comunidad. El alcalde está hablando con CenterPoint Energy cada 4 horas para asegurarse de que la electricidad llegue a todos. CenterPoint Energy, por su parte, está cometido a que 1 millón más de clientes tengan electricidad al día de mañana a las 5 de la tarde. El alcalde quiere enfatizar que los semáforos están fuera de servicio en muchos lugares, entonces por favor no salgan a manejar ya cuando oscurece, porque es muy peligroso, no solamente para ustedes, pero para gente que esté caminando en la calle y también para policías y servicios de bomberos. También quiere agradecer a todos los empleados de servicios públicos por su dedicación y sacrificio. Desde la policía, bomberos, la recolección de escombros, por favor, recuerden, cuando ustedes vean empleados en la calle que están recolectando basura y usted está manejando, recuerde que esas personas también tienen familias, esas personas también probablemente no tienen electricidad en su casa, sin embargo están trabajando para ustedes. Por favor, recuerden eso y manejen con cuidado para no ponerlos más en riesgo. También el alcalde tomó un momento para recordar las vidas de los 3 individuos, uno que es empleado de HPD que perdió su vida el día de ayer por la tormenta. Por favor, mantengan a la familia de estas 3 personas en sus pensamientos. Por parte del jefe de bombero, les dice por favor tener cuidado con los árboles que han sido afectados por las lluvias y los vientos, pero todavía no se han caído porque se pueden caer. Y también todas las llamadas que han recibido más que nada han sido del monóxido de carbono de las personas que están utilizando generadores. Por favor, no utilicen generadores adentro de la casa y manténganlos afuera, lejos de las ventanas y las puertas. El jefe de policía les recuerda que por favor a cualquier persona que quiera tomar ventaja de la situación, que no hay luces en la noche, no lo hagan, porque todo el departamento de policía está preparado, 50% durante el día, 50% durante la noche, y van a ser arrestados. No queremos a nadie que sea tomado ventaja por las situaciones. Por favor, cuiden de las personas a sus alrededores y no sean egoístas en momentos así. Obras públicas tienen más de 1,400 llamadas para arreglar la ciudad, entonces por favor ténganlos en cuenta. Y el agua es potable, no hay ningún problema con el agua, la pueden utilizar para bañarse, para lavar, y no debe haber ningún problema con eso. La recolección de residuos han podido hacer 75% de las rutas planeadas y han resumido la programación de recolección de escombros causados por las tormentas también. Para el final de la semana deberían de estar ya como a programación normal. Si no tiene una urgencia, pero quiere reportar un árbol caído o bloqueos a las carreteras, llame al 311, porque no es urgencia, no utilice el 911. 911 es solamente para urgencias. Si quiere reportar algún problema con la electricidad, llame al 713 207-2222. Ese es el número de CenterPoint Energy. Y también tenemos unas buenas noticias por los líderes estatales que hablaron con el presidente Biden y han declarado un estado de emergencia por esta tormenta, lo cual significa que nos van a poder ayudar con los gastos de recuperación con la ciudad, hasta un 75%. También tenemos un problema con los hospitales, donde no hay cuartos, porque la gente no puede regresar a sus casas porque no tienen luz. Entonces, también nuestro gobierno estatal nos va a abrir Energy Center mañana para tener servicio para pacientes que no pueden estar en los hospitales. Esos servicios van a estar listos para mañana. Creo que eso es lo más importante. Gracias.
Nothing is more important than county government, city government working together. Since I was sworn in, I've had a full-time partnership with these two commissioners that are here, whether it's road repair, flood control, and certainly debris pickup. Even parks, they offer to help us mow our city parks. Great collaboration. It's the best use of taxpayer dollars. We're cutting out duplication between the city and the county. So, Tom Ramsey, I want to publicly thank you and ask you to advise us on how we can go forward.
Thank you, Mayor. I appreciate the collaboration. Governor Patrick, appreciate the support. Your collaboration, your support allows us to focus in the county our resources to get some things done. One thing is important, I think, to point out with this storm. This is the third disaster we've had in this region in the last 2 months. So our constituents, to our folks out there in the field, I'm just amazed at how resilient they are in going through another storm, yet another storm, and this one was probably the worst. I've seen more damage out of this storm than I can remember on any. The extent of the damage is extraordinary. Several thousand trees are still on the ground. We are in a clearing mood in the county. We got to keep the thoroughfares cleared. The intersection lack of lights is a major issue that we're focused on. But again, we're working with the city folks, the law enforcement, the fire marshal, other areas to be sure that those citizens in the unincorporated area of Harris County are taken care of and properly addressed. So, Mayor, thank you for your support. We'll try to keep our eye on the ball.
Thank you. Commissioner Garcia.
Mayor, Governor Patrick, Commissioner Ramsey, the police and fire chiefs, thank you so very much. Angela as well, and Chief Kidd, thank you for your respective leadership, and for the city council members that are here as well. Mayor, I want to thank you for fostering an attitude of all of government response and approach to yet another challenge before our respective communities. You know, one entity that has not yet been mentioned but will be in town shortly is the Small Business Administration's Disaster Recovery resources with Executive Director Francisco Sanchez, who will be in town to help yet bring more federal dollars to our local businesses. And businesses absolutely need to be supported by us. Mayor, I want to take a point of personal privilege to say thank you for recognizing Angel Ponce. I've known this young man for quite some time, but to take time to recognize the disabled, the priority for the disabled community has always been important for me. So thank you for doing that, and this individual is just phenomenal in his respective work. For Precinct 2, just like Commissioner Ramsey said, we are focused on providing, we've already stood up some distribution centers today to provide water and resources to the community, some boxed food. We will continue to do so as resources are made available, and we will continue to help our community move forward. One thing that I did want to point out is please pay attention to the respective social media feeds from the City of Houston, from the 4 county commissioners who are the closest to the ground, to stay up to date to the recovery process that's underway, the debris removal, distribution centers, resources that are going to be made available to you. please pay attention to all of our respective offices so that we can make sure to provide you with timely updates. And then also I want to point out, Hurricane Ike, the flood day, the flood day flood of 2015, all have Memorial Day flood, all have very similar impacts to what we just saw. Yet, in those respective occurrences, we had about 3,000 or more structures reported flooded. In this one, we're not even going to get close. And I think it is in great part to the phenomenal work that the Harris County Flood Control District has been doing. The Harvey bond is paying for itself as we speak, and we will continue to do work. We obviously know that we have more to do, and we're going to stay focused on the ball. We got an engineer in Commissioner Ramsey who is always making sure that we're staying sharp in that regard, and an advocate for the communities who need those resources the most, and me and Commissioner Briones. To that point, the testament of partnership between the City of Houston, Harris County, the state of Texas, our federal government is incomparable. But we do need one thing from our citizens, and it's been touched on by almost everyone, and that is that we need your patience. We are good at what we do, and we're going to get through this quickly because we're always in it together, but we do need your patience. It's going to be hot. It's getting hotter. Please do not let those conditions get the best of anyone. Go to the cooling center to cool off. And if you're worried about that food in the refrigerator, throw a neighborhood picnic. Invite your neighbors over. Make good use of the food. But do not let those frustrations boil over and create more challenges than we already have. And again, follow our social media feeds so that we can provide you all the information as much as possible and as current as possible. Brevemente, nomás quiero darle las gracias al alcalde Whitmire, al gobernador Patrick, al jefe Kidd, a los jefes de policía y bomberos de la ciudad de Houston, el comisionado Ramsey, los concejales que están aquí. Todos nosotros estamos preocupados para todos de ustedes y estamos enfocados en poner este desastre atrás de todos nosotros y seguir adelante. Pero necesitamos unas cosas. Primeramente, que siguen los medios de las redes sociales de la ciudad de Houston, del precinto 2, 1, 3 y 4, para asegurar que te estamos dando toda la información pertinente a su área lo más pronto posible, porque ahí es donde estamos lo más cerca con la comunidad y ahí les vamos a brindar toda la información lo más pronto posible. Pero también para reconocer que es importante de pensar en todos. Entonces le quería dar las gracias al alcalde Whitmire por tener la persona encargada de las personas con discapacidades en el señor Ángel Ponce, alguien que yo he conocido por muchos años. Me da gusto porque siempre preocupándose uno de personas con discapacidades ha sido algo importante para mí, y para tener al alcalde reconocer eso es muy, muy importante. Así todo el público sabe que no nos estamos olvidando de nadie y vamos a seguir trabajando juntos. Últimamente, mira, se está poniendo ya un poco más caliente. Por favor, mantengan la paciencia. No dejen que las condiciones los lleguen a poner en mal humor y por favor siguen paciente, llegan a uno de los centros de refrigeramiento para que uno se puede calmar, para que asegurar que uno no se llegue a poner en unos problemas que no necesita uno. Y para terminar, mira, si están preocupados de la comida que tienen en los refrigeradores, que posiblemente se puede echar a perder, ¿por qué no llegan a hacer una comida, un convivio para toda la vecindad, para que puedan hacer lo que siempre hacemos aquí en Houston y hacer una comunidad? Gracias, Mayor. Thank you so much. Appreciate you.
Thank you, Commissioner. In closing, let me thank Houstonians for being resilient. We're not through. I want Houstonians to know that this team will be working around the clock to protect your family and help them in a full recovery. We ask you to look out for your family, your neighbors, your pets, your senior citizens, and we're all in this together. And this is how we're going to collaborate and get through. Thank you, Governor Patrick, and each and every one. I could name everyone, but they stand out on their own right. We close at this time. We're going to go back and go to work and deal with real-time information. So is there any questions at this time?
This question is for the Center Point representative.
Sure. Sure.
And sir, if you don't mind your name and position.
Yes, my name is Brad Tutunjan. I'm the Vice President of Regulatory Policy at CenterPoint Energy.
All right. Were there crews staged before Beryl hit? And if so, how many crews were actually here staged and where were they?
So when we reach out for mutual assistance, it's a large group of other utilities, municipalities, contractors. And so when we go out, we make a request for those crews to come. Traditionally, the way that it works is once we have that, those crews respond post the storm. And it's very important to understand as soon as a storm hits, you can't show up and just start giving thousands of work orders to those contractors. There is a very specific system to be able to make that work. One, you have to make sure that you have everything set up. You got to make sure that you have the resources. You got to make sure that they've completed their safety training. And then once that takes place, then you have to have fully assessed work for them to be able to do. So it's not just as simple as overnight bringing them in and having them start to work. So what we're looking at is we requested the crews. They started to head our way prior to the storm. It's their responsibility to find places to ride out before the storm takes place, to get reasonably close. Once the storm passes, then they're convenient, or they're able to drive safely into our territory. That's when we bring them, onboard them, train them, and then get them ready. And then so when they're able to deploy, usually first day is not going to work because we have to make sure that we have the necessary work orders, defined regions, areas that they need to work. We need to make sure all that's organized because we have to get an idea of what the actual damaged infrastructure is. We have to get an idea of actually what we're looking at, and that's what that assessment process is. So currently, we have about 7,500 of those 10,000 resources that we secured. The rest of them should be onboarded tonight, and then we have another 2,000 on top of that we should have by tomorrow.
But did we have crews here previous to the storm hitting, or are you saying that that's not necessary? I know that that's been done in the past.
Not here at CenterPoint. That's not part of our process. So the crews that we have for the storm are internal resources because, again, it's very specific on how we do that work. We have to do what's defined as our cut and clear process. We have to assess what has been damaged. Then we have to go out and we have to disconnect and separate our facilities for those workers to be able to work on them because we're obligated to make sure that it's safe and de-energized for them to work. And that's never going to happen on day one. That's never been part of our process, and it's too large of a scale to be able to do that. So we have to deploy our internal resources to be able to do that. It usually appears to be much quicker because we don't have the storm in the past, for example, like Hurricane Nicholas. When it came through, it was early in the morning. So we were able to get our crews out, do that cut and clear process immediately. Unfortunately, with this clearing our territory at 3 p.m., all that we're able to do is bring those crews in, get them set up, get them trained, onboarded, ready to go, so that first thing in the morning, we're able to do that. Also keep in mind, while we're bringing in those crews, we have to, as soon as that storm passes through, that is when we have to set up our laydown yards, our staging sites, where we have to have all of those facilities set up and ready to go. You cannot do that before the storm. We can't have equipment laying out. We can't have everything just ready to go prior to the storm as far as being set up and deployed. So we have to have the facilities ready for them to be able to just show up, grab their work orders, get the material they need, and then go out. So from my perspective, to have the storm pass at 3 p.m. in the afternoon, have those crews come in the late evening, and have everything ready by 5 a.m. to go out and get out and start the workforce is rather impressive, because we're talking thousands of crews.
So to be clear, there were no crews staged previous to the storm, and that's not something that you've ever done?
Not within our territory.
Rob, I've heard a lot about city facilities that don't have power, that, you know, whether that's the fire stations, that's the libraries, that's the pump stations, the multi-service centers that are used as cooling centers for citizens here. What is CenterPoint's, I guess, posture toward restoring those? Is that a priority for you guys?
Yes, so actually there's a lot of preliminary work that takes place, and we work with all of our cities to identify the critical customers, is what we refer to. And those are the things such as the critical infrastructure, the pump stations. And so we are aware of those. We, again, have to assess the damage of our facilities to get an idea of what it takes on our end to be able to provide that. Some of them we're able to work with, some of them we are not. But fortunately, because of the legislation that we had, courtesy of our temporary generation, we have the opportunity to be able to provide backup generation for those facilities.
How many of those generators?
I don't know at this time. I know that we've had quite a few deployed, but I'll have to go back and get that information for you.
And Mayor, is that hindering the city's response at all? There's lack of power to these facilities?
You know, this is not our first rodeo, so we learn from our experience. There are a priority of facilities such as hospitals, our jails, other critical needs that CenterPoint is aware of. And we communicate them on a regular basis. We obviously, the city does not run CenterPoint, but we're in this together. We do understand the frustration of families. I've heard from my family members. In the city's highest priority, right there with public safety, is energy. We want our neighborhoods to have lights. We want our traffic lights to work. So energy and CenterPoint is our highest priority, right behind our first responders. So yes, this is not the first conversation we've had, and we're holding them accountable. We talk at least every 4 hours. I get an accurate account. They've made commitments. Whatever resources they need, they'll put on the ground. But, you know, the gentleman just described, they have a process and a model for safety of not only the public, but for their workers. You know, I was watching, you know, the previous storm when it hit, because it was sudden and intense. We had firefighters on 290. It backed up 5 o'clock traffic on 290. Firefighters were out pulling up live wires, and we were already in the nerve center, and everybody was cautioning through the TV, be careful, you've got a live wire. They're trained for that. They ground the live wires, but also CenterPoint collaborates with our first responders. So it's all hands on deck, and I welcome the questions. The public has questions, they're entitled to answers, and I thank the press for being here and raising these questions. But CenterPoint is a first responder in every sense of the word.
The slow opening of cooling centers, you know,
That has been historical. That's what I inherited, by the way. You know, this is not the first time that cooling centers were not cooling, whether it's a library or whether it's a multi-service center. It is incomprehensible to me that you have a police substation or a fire station without a backup generator. But that's what we inherited, and that's what we're here to fix. And this team I've put together, collaborating with the county, we have management districts that are going to build a fire station now. Gessner and I-10 will have a new fire station because of the Memorial City Management District. Unheard of vision and creativity to provide quality of service to all Houstonians. You're seeing it in real time as I talk to you. We're committed. We're not going to leave anything unattended to, whether it's a private sector with CenterPoint, state, local. We're in this together, and we're asking the public, let us help you by helping us. When it's dark and the street lights are out, Stay at home unless it's essential travel. Look out for the most vulnerable. But no, it's not comfortable. I have family members, everyone in this room, we live in the real world. I don't want 9 fire stations closed because they don't have a generator. And Centerpoint understands that better than anyone. Centerpoint, I want energy for every Houstonian. Equality across Houston, every community, whether it's in even cooling centers. We're sitting here working, and we'll leave this press conference and go back there to implement cooling centers. We're getting a real-time report. Which one's open? Sometime Acres Home, we wanted it open at noon today. We had to push it back. Energy. So we're raising Cain, for lack of a better description. Thank you.
Brad, when you say you're trying to get 1 million people restored tomorrow, does that count people who have already been restored today, or is that you're trying to get an additional 1 million?
That's including what we've already done so far.
And how many have you restored so far?
Right now, we're about 650,000.
Okay, so you're trying to get another 350,000.
Yeah.
And then Mayor, I had a question for you. You've fully mobilized HPD this morning, I believe. And my understanding is that in past storms like Harvey, that was done in advance of this storm. Is that something you guys consider doing?
I let the chief, who runs the department, I certainly blessed and approved of the mobilization. We've had all hands on deck. The mobilization is just a little more structured policy. We've never had, other than the ongoing shortage of, which I inherited, of about 2,000 short HPD officers, 500 firefighters, but they do everything they can and leave no community unprotected other than what you're familiar with. You reported on it, the under-resourced Houston Police Department. In terms of allocation of resources, that's certainly the chief's discretion.
Yeah, in fact, actually, we did deploy tons of people right off the bat. Even Sunday night, going into it, we deployed high water rescue teams and boats, and we reported on this in our press conferences leading up to this, that we had them all pre-positioned. We had a lot of resources out there that night. We didn't get hit that night. We got hit the next morning, but on that next morning, I canceled anybody that was trying to take off, no additional days off, unless they were already being honored. And I brought everybody in uniform in anticipation of that. So we were already leaning way forward with as many people as we could. We didn't know what we were going to get hit with, so we were prepared all day. We had to ride out that storm that morning like everybody else with the heavy winds, the high winds, and everything else. And even in those conditions, we were still out there rolling around, responding. Our officers did a fantastic job. Like I said earlier, 56 rescues of people in high water situations. And then, of course, what we did not anticipate was the level of power that we would lose, the magnitude of the power outage. And when that happened, because we were already working overtime, we'd already gotten approved by the mayor to work overtime through the declaration. So we had teams, our investigators working late that night on Monday night. Everybody was already pre-positioned to work just about the same number of people on the street. But once we had the power outages and we realized this is going to be a much more extended event, we went to mobilization. That's a lot easier to control. It's a lot easier to manage. We know how many officers we're going to have on the street each day, how many officers we're going to have at our cooling centers that are being stood up, at the shelters, at every other location, whatever the need. We have nursing homes. We have other locations where we have people with special needs that we need to check on. So we needed the additional bodies to do all of those things too that are now we're stood up today. So hence the reason I thought it was more prudent to just go ahead and mobilize the entire department post because of what we've seen in terms of the damage from really the power outage. Our number one problem is power outage because that creates very dangerous situations. And so with that, we needed more people on the street and without over-fatiguing our officers, because yesterday everybody was working 16-hour shifts. Today, they're working 12-hour shifts, but I have them working a day shift and a night shift. We've canceled days off, so they no longer have their days off. But that is a more easier way to manage our continued response and recovery for the public.
Okay, so you're saying even if you weren't sort of formally, officially fully mobilized on Monday, you still have plenty of personnel?
Yeah, right. We leaned way forward for this thing. Obviously, the reports were just all over the place on where it was going to go, the magnitude of it and everything else. We took the posture of we're going to lean forward. We're going to have all our resources in play. The mayor and I were out Sunday night, rolling around, checking on the situation that night. We took it that serious that we were out till after 2 o'clock, just going around. So our officers were all deployed. And then, of course, on that Monday morning, they were coming in. Unfortunately, they were coming in the very worst of it. But we had officers coming in, but we were on a 1-for-1. No one went home without another officer coming in to relieve them. And so we still have maintained our resources, our staffing throughout that morning as officers were able to make it in. A lot of Strohs, I mean, this thing flashed up very quickly, as you know. Flooding happened very quickly, and we just responded as quickly as possible. But in 60 to 70 mile an hour winds, at some points we had 80 plus mile an hour gusts. We normally don't roll around in that kind of, because cars can be moved off the road. Very, very dangerous situations can happen even for our officers. They have to be able to get to you, and if they're rolled into a ditch or something else, they're not going to get to you. But still, we did what we could. We were prepared. We were leaned in. And then, like I said, we made the decision yesterday evening that for the sake of this thing looking like it's going to go on for several more days for us, the easier way to manage that is a full mobilization, because then we can better take care of our officers and they can better plan for when they're working and when they're not.
And that's your call about the mayors, or do you guys do
So I informed the mayor yesterday evening, at our briefings, that we were going to full mobilization starting this morning 6 a.m., which is what we did after, I think for Harvey and a lot of our storms. We don't know what we're going to get, but once we get it, we know what we need. And I decided that to tell the mayor last night that we were going to go to full mobilization starting this morning at 6 a.m. And it was not just me. I have a team that is advising. We're all looking at this thing. We have officers here at the EOC in our Emergency Operations Center. We have our own Department Operations Center at 1200 Travis. We've got fantastic men and women around me that are also looking at everything, because I can't know everything. But together, we made that decision, and I said, yep, do it. And that's why we did it.
Very good. We've got to go to work.
I have one more question. And a similar question about Tier 1 employees. I don't know if it's you or Mr. Munoz that should answer the question, but my understanding is OEM sent an email out on Sunday telling Tier 2 and 3 employees to stay home, and then telling Tier 1 employees to report Monday morning, which I was thinking the thickest part of the storm was hitting. Were those employees driving to work that morning, or did they report later? Or should they have been called in early?
Talk about HPD.
No, Tier 1 employees, which I think cuts across some of them.
Tier 1. Why don't you explain how we operate with our Tier 1?
Yeah, so our Tier 1 is going to be our essential employees, first responders, those at the OEM, our 911 call takers. Those are essential for the response in itself. The Tier 2 are those that could work from home, Tier 2 and Tier 3. So as a precautionary measure, and the fact that the storm was impacting, that was a decision made with our HR department to ensure that. But everything was done as a precautionary measure. The Tier 1 employees are those employees that have to respond, have to ensure that the city is safe during and after the disaster.
Right, my question is, should they have been called in Sunday before the storm actually hit to avoid them communicating during the actual storm?
Well, and those are the things that we were already in place, right? So our OEM was already here, our 911s were already here. The day before, we had those individuals already here, so we had already made those arrangements, and of course our fire and our police departments already had that, and that decision was made for those not to travel in the middle, which it occurred at approximately 5 in the morning. We started getting those calls, and that was a call that was made prior to that, and the emails were sent out to eliminate unnecessary danger to those employees.
Okay, so you're saying Tier 1 didn't report when they reported?
Oh, we were already here the night before.
They spent the night here.
I've been here for 3 days now.
The email, my understanding is sent to report Monday morning, so that's what I'm trying to.
They had spent the night here, Tier 1. Thank you.